Welcome to Disruption Blueprint with Shannon Spotswood from RFG Advisory. We've built an award-winning platform with innovative technology, comprehensive service, and a team of individuals who are experts in their field to serve advisors. Join us for this journey where we explore everything that has to do with running an independent advisor practice as we bring together industry experts and innovative minds who are on the bleeding edge to challenge the status quo, foster new ideas, and create a path for advisors to unleash their growth potential. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Disruption Blueprint. This is going to be another really fun episode. I am joined in the studio by Martha Underwood, who is the founder of Prismm. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about it, but I'm just going to say this. It is changing the game for how America is going to retire. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about disruption, innovation, and how we all artificially hold ourselves back. So buckle up. We're going to have some fun. Martha, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. Always good to be.
Oh, it's so good. I've been looking forward to this all day. All right, let's just get the housekeeping out of the way. You've created something that is transformational for our industry with Prismm. Tell us about Prismm. And as part of that story, share your background in technology that led you to creating the company.
Sure. So Prismm is a digital vault that we offer to financial institutions and financial advisors like yourself to help their customers do two things. One, transfer wealth seamlessly to their heirs because we work too hard all our lives for us not to be able to do that, right? That's one. The second thing that we do is help financial institutions and advisors bridge the gap between generations, right? Because for me, my dad has been with the same advisor for over 30 years, right? And I just spoke to him. Like, that's a big piece that's missing in the industry now. And so those are the two gaps that we fill. And we're really after changing the way we look at wealth transfer in the United States.
Okay, so talk about your time in corporate big tech.
Yep.
And that aha moment that there is truly an underlying need for this.
Yeah, so it was coupled with my personal need, but my aha moment came during COVID because I was at the bank at the time. And we all know that so many people transitioned during COVID, meaning that they died unexpectedly from the disease. And all of their heirs came straight to the bank. And at the time, I was over bank operations, and they're like, we can't do anything. Our hands are tied because you're not listed on the account. Or the account holder just did not do the things that they needed to do to ensure that that wealth was transferred or that someone had access to it. That's key, right? Someone had they gave the consent to the bank for someone to get access to those funds and know that it was coming to them. And so I said, this is a huge problem because a lot of times what we see is account holder information lacks beneficiary information. Like, we're always looking for where are the beneficiaries. And the process to find that from the bank is archaic. And so with us, we're leveraging technology to easily pull that metadata in so you know who your beneficiaries are so we can automate that transfer of cash or assets to your heirs.
And one of the things I love about Prismm, and especially for this first leg of the generational wealth transfer, is the permissioning. So talk about some of the feature sets of Prismm.
Sure. So with Prismm, especially with boomers and Gen Xers, we're still very private.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about our money, and we don't want our kids to hear about how much money we have, right? And so what we do with Prismm is we aggregate all of your financial accounts. That's cash accounts, that's investment accounts, that's pensions, that's 401ks, that's whatever type of account that you can think of, we can bring that in. Brings in your documents, bring in all of your real estate assets, and then we let you lock it down. So you can invite a spouse or have a joint account, or you can invite a beneficiary or a sister or a brother or a trusted friend and say, I don't want you to see anything, or I want you to just see my financials or just see my documents or just see this one thing so I can keep my privacy.
And then upon death, what happens?
Upon death, I can trigger the account. And when I trigger the account, it magically opens up, right? And that's really the magic of Prismm. I can control who sees what and when.
Yeah.
I don't want you to see anything right now, but when you need to see it, the most important time you need to see it, you can trigger that account and then everything goes into a read-only state keep the fidelity of it because we don't want any bad actors coming in saying, hey, I'm going to update this account or update this or delete that. So we lock everything down, read only, and then you get the access that the account holder assigned to you at account opening.
I mean, it really is truly transformational in terms of thinking about being organized to die. And it's, it might sound like hardcore to say it that way,
Yeah.
but it is truly the greatest gift. I've navigated this with my father, I've navigated this with my stepfather, and, thankfully they were both very organized and had the folder, the manila folder
Yeah.
in their filing cabinet. Heaven forbid I didn't live in the part of the country to be able to access that. There wasn't a fire. There was it is not copacetic with the
Nope.
way we live today. So to be able to turn this on for yourself and for your family, organize all your documents, be able to know, yes, there's a will, because you also have a checklist in there.
That's right.
Do we have a will in place? Do we have our power of attorney in place? Do all these important documents, are they there? Are they accessible? Where are the financial accounts? Where are the held away assets? Where are all these, orphaned accounts?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
And not to mention digital assets.
right, digital assets is a whole.
That's a whole nother thing, right? Like, where are the digital assets? You don't even know where to begin to look
right.
for that. And so it is really incumbent upon the people who own it to be able to say, I'm going to give this gift to my family by
Right.
being organized.
Yep.
And saying, this is where all of those are.
All right, so now you can see why, RFG is one of the first adopters of Prism. This is just a hugely exciting opportunity for advisors to lean in and give this gift to their clients, help them get organized. I will tell you, we recently did an event for Stronger Money. There were probably 60 women in the room, and Martha was actually a guest in that audience, and we had her join us on stage and share a little bit about Prism. And by the end of that panel discussion, we had 60 women with their hands in the air asking one question: how do I get Prism? So getprism.com is where you can find out all about it. Highly recommend this, especially for 2025 and sitting here at the cusp. And I want to kind of transition to the generational wealth transfer. And you and I spend a lot of time when we see each other talking about disruption and innovation in the industry and how the next 5 years are truly going to set the stage for what the future will look like. We have this convergence of events: generational wealth transfer, AI, digital assets, fintech, private equity, just everything. 10,000 advisors looking to retire in 10 years, controlling $10 trillion worth of assets. And P.S., we're not attracting any new advisors. It is almost hard to wrap your brain around how different the industry is going to look. So when you're thinking about that and you're talking to advisors, where do you think the blind spots are?
The blind spots are that it'll just come. Like, they will figure it out. Instead of planning, looking at, one, your customer set. Like, let me look at the demographics of my customer. Let me look at my tech stack. What am I using today? And what is of value not only to my current customer, but to their family members? I don't think that they have, like my father's advisor, thought about extending a call to me as his daughter to say, let me involve you in that conversation, right? And I think that there's going to be a shift in that, because I think advisors are going to have to take more of a consultative view, looking at the whole family, not just your client and not just your customer. And I think that they're starting to wake up to it, but they don't realize just how big of an opportunity that it is.
Well, it's so funny. We were literally this morning having a whiteboard conversation about this umbrella of the overall household.
Yep.
And how I think everyone is having the discussion around tax planning and estate planning and financial planning and the cohesion between all of those. But in practice, extending that down to the next generation and the generation beyond that and fostering that discussion, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, the client portals today aren't supporting that discussion. And honestly, like, the industry isn't really supporting that discussion.
Yeah. It's because, how do you leverage technology to include them in the discussion? That is why with Prism, it's so important that we are like, okay, you need to be able to invite someone to the platform, to give them controlled access to what you want them to see. And for an advisor, that's a game changer because I've invited you to this portal to see what I am seeing and help advise on it. And oh, by the way, I want to include you in this conversation because this is your inheritance that we're talking about. People want to talk about money. And then when they start having that conversation, they're like, well, hold on. Let me start thinking about myself. I know I'm going to be coming into this money, but what am I doing right now with the money that I have? And if I have kids, let me start thinking about that planning. Because given the economy and all the things, we're starting to hear more about intergenerational households.
Right.
And because we hear about intergenerational households, why aren't we, as advisors in private wealth and all of the things in banking, having those conversations to say, let me look at products to address the intergenerational household?
hmm Gosh, it's such an interesting point because it's almost as if, especially for next gen planning, that it's treated like a windfall. Like all of a sudden, mom or dad shows up and they have the down payment for the house, but it's like, here's a gift. It's a surprise windfall.
Yeah.
And imagine how much more strategic you could be
Absolutely.
if you had a more transparent and a line of sight into that.
Yeah. And you know where it's going. You know who it's going to, right? And what life stage they're in, what they care about, right? Because when you do invite them to the platform, you have all this data on them. Okay, where do they live? How old are they? What life stage that they might be in? Are they married? Are they single? Like all of these things. So if they're about to come into $1 million, knowing what life stage they're in, you can come in with an already built out plan to say, hey, I know you might be thinking about that.
Right. Right.
And here's how we can help you. Right.
Like a great, just very practical, and, I'm certainly not a planner, but a very practical application of this is where you live. And if you're coming into $1 million and you live in an area where you have to send your kids to private school, but that $1 million allows you to move and go to public school, like you start making different life decisions.
And you know how to make them or when you're going to make them, and you got guidance to make it.
All right. So last time that we were together, we had a very spirited conversation about AI.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like as the weeks go by, it's just like inundated with single point solutions. Everybody feels behind. I don't know how to write the right prompt. I don't know which tools to use. I know that there is efficiency to be gained. How do you think AI is going to, I don't even want to look beyond 12 months. How do you think AI is going to shape our industry for the next 12 months?
Man, that's a heavy question because I think it's going to transform it. Right? So right now, we're starting to see AI on the surface everywhere. Everyone is talking about AI. I think, over the next 12 months is going to shift to behind the scene engine. Like it's the thing powering the software, and it's just making the decisions on the back end. It's sifting through data. It's building reports and graphs for you based on what you want it to do for you. And we won't see it at the forefront right now. But right now, what's important is for us to understand what it can do and how we can harness that power for our applications, for our organizations. How can we make sure that it is a partner to the human capital we have and not a replacement? Because people are like, oh, it's going to replace jobs. It's not going to replace jobs. It's not going to replace jobs. What we need to be doing, though, is putting resources into training the human capital, the people that we have now, on how to leverage it and how to use it. And so I tell people, look, catalog what you're doing right now. Like, what are the manual things that you can say, okay, AI, sift through this 100-page document and give me these data points or create this graph for me, right? Until you can build it into a software or to your process. But it's going to be transformative because we won't see it on the back end, and then we'll be able to go much faster than we are going today, which is going to put a lot more emphasis on the human connection, like just having these conversations and being able to ideate on what's next. I think really is going to highlight that over the next year.
I think this is going to be a time where being isolated is going to be a significant detriment to your long-term success.
Yeah.
Just even the conversations you have, the conversation I was having this morning around, this intergenerational wealth planning, around leveraging AI, around thinking about the future state of the advisor. It is too much to just rattle around in your own brain, and there are too many complex questions to be asked and answered that I feel like these next 5 years, we're living in a time of like intense and very fast collaboration.
That's the perfect segue. I was literally just on a Zoom with Chris Dodd of
Of
Dodd,
Dodd-Frank.
which that's
Only finance nerds are like, "Ooh, Dodd-Frank."
Dodd-Frank.
Like, forget about Netflix.
And it was pretty amazing, and that's one of the things he said. He said that we have a unique opportunity right now to collaborate with
Mm.
other companies, like other fintechs, because the problems are so complex. And as you said before, there's so many different pieces to this thing. Is how can we create a comprehensive solution? The only way we can do that is through community and through collaboration, right? Is having those conversations to say, well, how did you solve this? And as we talk through how they might have solved a particular problem, it might spark other ideas of, oh, this is how we're solving it, but we just found a new way by just us having that conversation. And so collaboration and I think acquisitions like M&As are going to happen because you're going to see a lot of merging of companies of creating what we will call solutions, like end-to-end solutions for the industry, that really service our customers and our clients. That it's not just a one piece here, one piece there, where it's confusing, it's overwhelming, it's too much. So they're like, I'm just not going to participate, and
Right.
we don't want them to do that. And so it's a great opportunity for us to collaborate on how we can leverage AI and technology to service the most important person, which is our clients.
Our clients. I think you're 100% right. I really do believe in speaking with advisors that they are just single point solution to death.
To death, to death.
It's like how many document storage, how many portals, how many logins, how many, it's too much.
And not to mention regulatory rules that you gotta stay within the confines
Mhm.
of, which is why we have all of these different things, right?
Right.
And so that's why I think going into the next couple of years with some of the rollbacks and some of the relaxation on some or rethinking, I don't want to say relaxation, but rethinking of some of the regulatory rules that's out there, it's really going to open it up for us to be able to create solutions to help not only the advisors, but our customers.
So I want to, touch on just you've walked the journey now as being a female founder, as being a female Black founder, and knocking on doors and thinking about taking on capital and raising capital and
Yeah.
doing all that. What does the next 12 months look like for Prism in terms of your growth and what you need in order to, accelerate that collaboration? And two, how has that journey been?
Woo, we gonna go there, girl. Let me take a sip
Yeah.
of water.
We might need some bourbon.
We might need some. It's been a wonderful journey, actually. Learned so much. And there is a thing to be said about resiliency and the fact that I'm not alone in it, because I have my COO and sister alongside of me. It's been a pretty fantastic journey. It is not easy, especially when you're trying to change an industry. And that's what we're doing at Prism because we're helping people rethink how do we transfer wealth. People are like, "Gonna automate it? You're gonna do what? You're gonna integrate into what?" And I'm like, "Yes, I've seen it."
Yeah.
Right? I've architected it because we can do this better, but getting everyone to see that sometimes is a challenge. And I realize that sometimes God gives you vision that no one else can see, and you have to stay on that path.
Yeah.
Because they will call you crazy.
Oh,
And
I've
what
been there.
for
I probably
look,
still am there.
4 years ago, they were like, "Can't do this, Martha. This isn't gonna work." And now they're like, "This is pretty brilliant,
Uh-huh.
Martha, on how you thought about it," right?
Yeah.
And so being on the other side of that and now seeing that, I'm like, "Oh, it's worth it." But now you get to another set of it,
Right.
starting to scale.
Yeah.
We are at the end of the first phase of implementation with a large bank. We have a large pipeline of banks that's waiting to get onto Prism, which is phenomenal because they're waking up to the need and they see the value that it's going to be providing to their customers. And so we're happy that RFG is on Prism and we are onboarding your advisors because that's going to bring so much value. So the need is for us to get capital partners that understand what we are doing and how we are changing the industry and that can come alongside of us to help us explode continue to explode with the sales that we have and the growth that we have.
It is, I think any journey worth taking requires just that utter, like, commitment to the mission. It is so easy to quit.
Oh, yeah.
It's the easiest freaking thing in the whole world.
Oh, yeah, it's been times that I'm just like,
What am I doing?
"What am I doing? Why? Why? Like, what, like, should I keep going? Like, is it even worth it? Do people really see this?" But now being on the other side of it and being on calls and having people say, "Man, like, this truly is going to change lives. Like, I understand what you are doing now is the reward." But you can't see that. You can only see that looking back. And so the nights that I'm driving my husband crazy or I'm calling my sister, like, I just want to stop. Right? Like, I don't want to do it. I just want to take a bubble. I want to take a Calgon, take me away, right? You remember those days. But you realize once you get to this side, man, the impact that I'm gonna make, the legacy that I'm gonna leave is gonna be phenomenal. And then I have 2 young boys.
Right.
I have boys.
Yeah.
Like, it's always girls, you're gonna see badass mom or whatever. But for boys to see that, I think it's important because I want them to go into their relationships and their marriages to know that, women can do this. That women are brilliant, we're leaders, we come up with the ideas to change the world. And to not look at that as competition
Right.
and to look at it as
Amen.
partnership, right? And so they get to see it front row. They get a front row seat. I take them everywhere. And I'm like, when I'm having speeches or I'm at conferences, and if I'm able to bring them around their sports schedule,
Yep.
then I'm like, I want you to see this
Yeah.
because your wife might be doing this, and I want you to be able to cheer her on just like you're cheering on mommy.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we were talking about how truly anything is possible.
Absolutely.
I mean, anything is possible. You just have to be willing to push all your chips into the center of the table.
But that risk sometimes is heavy, right? And but the only way to do it is to jump in 2 feet, right? You got to jump in to the water. And that's what I did. Because at first I was like, oh, let me dabble.
Right.
Let me see. And I was just like, Martha,
Well, you were
gonna do it.
pinnacle of your career.
I was.
I mean, one of the top most sought after professionals in technology in banking. Like, you were unicorn to unicorn.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was hard because you know what was so hard about it? It was I felt like I was leaving a lot of people behind.
Yeah.
Like, I helped so many people. Like, to be a Black woman in tech, to be able to be blessed
Yeah.
with the opportunities. And I worked hard for those opportunities too, right? And so I was prepared to be able to accept those opportunities as they came to me. But the position that I held, I was able to help a lot of people. And so to say, you know what, it's time for me to follow my heart and help myself. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Because we always hear about it. And I think I heard you say, put your oxygen mask on first before someone else. It's so hard to do that because especially as women, we want to help others. We want to nurture others. And I was like, nope, gotta do it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's been, like I said, the best decision that I could have ever made.
Do you think 2 years from now, I'm like in these really small chunks, you can tell it's like year-end planning. I'm thinking a lot about goals. I'm thinking a lot about what our roadmap looks like. Do you think that Prism is the type of idea that's like wildfire? And 2 years from now, this is going to be a little bit like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that?
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Absolutely. Because the thing is, I always say Prism is going to be the platform that transfers wealth from the one generation from the boomers to the next. Like, think of what's the mechanism, what are the rails that we use right now to be able to automatically transfer it? There are checks, there are paper checks. And in some instances, you might have an ACH somewhere, but it's still a long process. And we figured out a way, we've thought creatively because of my experience about how can we do this efficiently leveraging technology.
Yeah.
And we figured that out. And it's going to be the way that everyone does it. And it's going to be seamless. It's going to be one of those things that's just back end that just happens on the bank side, but then we're transforming how people think about it. Because when a loved one dies and they're like, I no longer have to go sift through mountains of paper. the bosses, or fly down from New York to Tampa and sit there and open up a box and see a picture of grandma or mom and just start crying and forget about what I was doing.
Right.
I can now sit in my New York apartment and grieve and know that when I'm ready, I'm going to log on and I'm going to hit this, login, and I'm going to see everything that I need to see, and it's just going to automatically just start happening.
And what I think is so interesting both for banks and for advisors, so selfishly just focusing on advisors in this, is that this is the intangible value add that clients are seeking. This is when you talk about an exceptional client experience. How do you make me feel? Is so incredibly important. And it's, of course, you can get there through events and swag and the intentionality that you have in those conversations and those relationships. But this is one of those where if you've helped your client prepare to die, or you've helped that next gen understand what this is going to look like, they will remember it forever. Because in their time of greatest need, you provided clarity and a pathway forward and removed, like what you're talking about, that just emotional drain of going through the process the way that it's always been done. It is exhausting at a cellular level.
Oh, it really is. It really is. And we just got back from Miami, and my mom is 84 and my dad's 83. And I just look at them and I'm like, I know I'm going to be heartbroken. Like, they will be celebrating their 63rd wedding anniversary next year. So we're going to do that. Legit. That's legit. Like 6'3". Like, dude, I can't even think that far right now. And just to see the joy in their interaction and all of the things, right? And I'm looking at them and I told my sister, man, they worked so hard for all 7 of us to have what we have and all of us be successful and to see them be able to enjoy life. And so when something happens or when they do transition life, right, we are all going to be heartbroken. I'm not going to be in the right headspace to be able to do it. And that's why I always say, I created Prismm out of love for my parents because I want to be able to properly grieve them and think about the good times and all that and not have to sift through all of that. Because here's the reality. You're going to leave a legacy. Everyone's going to leave a legacy. It really is just going to be determined on what type of legacy you want to leave. One of chaos at the end.
Yeah.
But they're like, man, they didn't do anything for us. Like, this mom and dad or grandma and grandpa left all of this mess.
Right.
Or do you want to leave a legacy of peace of mind where, like, they were very thoughtful. They took the time, and it doesn't take that long.
Right.
But they took the time to actually organize this for us to be able to seamlessly do this. And so now we can celebrate their lives.
It's the ultimate act of love.
It really is. And I tell people all the time, like, think about the legacy you want to leave because you're going to leave one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, it really is that binary.
Yeah, it really is. They're going to forget all the other stuff. I've talked to countless of people and they're like, man, it was terrible at the end of life. Well, what about what else? What about their whole life?
Right.
They forgot about that because that end of life experience was just so terrible.
Yeah.
So think about what's the legacy you want to leave.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine a better way to end this. I can't wait for the next one. We got a lot to talk about.
I know, man.
We're going to make this a series for 2025.
Let's do it.
A quarterly series on just the future of wealth, the future of building companies, being real about the struggle and the triumph.
And I'm going to do a teaser, right? Because we didn't even talk about this, like Robinhood buying trade PMR.
Oh my gosh. Let's do that really fast.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that really fast because I'll tell you what, I'm like, hello, next gen.
Hello, next gen.
Crypto.
Yep.
Attaching advisors onto those accounts.
Yep.
Seamless integration, no headaches on paperwork and setting up and funding those accounts.
Yep.
It's got
Micro legacies.
It's spicy.
It's very spicy. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, look at this. Like, Robinhood is about to change the game because they want to be viewed as a serious player. And now they democratized trading for the younger folks, right? And they are a tech-first company. As you can see, it's very easy to use the app, right? And so now buying trade PMR puts them in a whole nother category. It makes them a serious contender.
Right.
And when you look at the average account as $5,000 in investment compared to the big custodians, right? But it's something to the younger generation.
Right.
Right. And so when you start looking at that and their tech first philosophy of making it easy for the younger generation to be able to access information, trade, possibly talk to an advisor,
Yeah.
right? What are the big guys going to do? What's going to be their response? I don't know. It's going to accelerate, their timeline to be able to bring in innovative products to capture that next generation.
Absolutely. And I think it really speaks to like, what is your client experience?
That's right.
How are you connecting? I'll tell you, so my son's 18. All of his friends asked for one thing for Christmas. Guess what it was?
Stop.
Money to invest.
Yeah.
That's all they wanted.
And you know what? That's what my sons asked for. I look at their list. Top line, money.
Money. I want to invest it.
Yeah. Money to invest.
And what's really interesting is, there was an article this past weekend, I think it was in Barron's, talking about how, in particular boys, how they're, being introduced to gambling through these video games and the currency of these skins. But here's the deal. They're very savvy. It's not as if they're like blindly stumbling into this like gambling addiction.
Nope.
They're aware of like, where is the bid-ask spread on various cryptos? Like, what's a fraud? What's not a fraud? Like, how do you monetize those skins? How do you maximize them? I want money to invest in stocks. They know about diversification. They know about momentum. Like, they are far and away, if you peek over their shoulder and you look at what they're watching either on Twitter or X or on YouTube, it's not sometimes it's mindless nonsense, but a lot of times it's like, how do I get more fit? How do I invest to be a millionaire by the time I'm 25?
Yeah.
Some of that might be quackery, but they're asking those questions.
Absolutely. And so what does that mean for Robinhood now?
Mm-hmm.
It gives them the opportunity to capture them as clients and keep them as long-term clients, especially now that they're trying to get into the big boy game. Right. And my son is 16. He's had his Greenlight account for how long now? And now we're graduating him. But he trades in Greenlight.
Right.
Like he's like, Mom, I need some more money so I can buy this more stock. And I'm like, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
They are thinking about this and they are talking about it amongst
Oh,
themselves.
all the time.
And so absolutely, this is going to be very interesting to see what happens next year, what, Robinhood's plan is going to be. I know I'm watching it very carefully. And I'm just watching the whole fintech getting into purchasing like financial institutions because Lending Club bought, I believe, Radius Bank. Like there's a trend starting to happen here where the fintechs are saying, we need a financial institution as the backbone because what we've done is we've changed the game on the fintech side, on the tech side.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have enough capital to be able to go after having a backbone of a financial institution. It's going to be game over for some of the other ones.
Well, and it's interesting, especially in light of your conversation with Mr. Dodd of like, what does deregulation mean? And revisiting through the lens of 2025, where we are in a regulatory environment.
I'm going to be watching it. The one thing that I know that he said that I think that we will all be watching too is how are we making sure that the customer and the clients are protected?
Right.
And I think that there's great opportunity for us with what we do, just by what I do.
Yep.
To protect them is going to lead the way and basically lead by example to say, here's how we should be thinking about it.
We were having that conversation as it relates, and I know you have a superstar of a son on the football field, but we were talking about the NILs. And how, we've got advisors that serve athletes and have very intentional programs. One we've created that's called Castle Guard that is designed around really protecting assets, in particular from all of the stupid ideas where people are losing money in private investments. They don't know how to vet them. It sounds like a great idea, and it doesn't in any way, shape, or form fit what their long-term financial plan is, but how this is a time like where these high school kids are being offered six-figure checks in high school, and we're just getting started.
Shannon.
So the amount of I think the call to arms to leverage technology to protect clients, to deliver exceptional experience and advice, it is now more so than ever.
I'm going to give you a real-world example. So my son's quarterback, 16-year-old. I'm gonna brag
Yeah.
on him a little bit right now. He got invited to the Navy National Combine in San Antonio in January. Like, we're presented by NBC Sports. So, huge deal, right?
Yeah.
Quarterback going there. And he's like, well, Mom, how can I maximize this opportunity? And he comes up with an idea. He's like, Mom, can I maybe get some sponsorships from companies and put stickers on my sneakers? Because I don't know if I can put it on the uniform they give me, but my sneakers, I like my cleats. I can put stickers on my cleats. And I'm like, that's brilliant. But look at how high school students are they're thinking
Yeah.
as it relates to NIL, right? As it relates to NIL, he's like, Mom, I want to start this trend. Like, I want people to start thinking about this because I'm talented. I'm going to be on a national stage.
Yeah.
How can I leverage this?
Yeah.
Companies want to get out there. And so when you start talking about targeting and them to safeguard them, is they're already thinking about it. And with the wrong person in their ear to say that, oh, I'll give you a sponsorship for this amount and you can go do this. Like, they don't know what to do with their money.
Yeah.
He has me, and I have you. And I'm like, Shannon, like, okay, well, what do we do with this? What do we do with this, right? But a lot of parents don't.
Right.
And they have talented children.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lot of predators out there going after it. So I love the fact that RFG is actually focused on this and saying, how can we help the parents and these young athletes at a young age and set them up for success down the line?
This is going to be a binary event. Like, you're going to have one of two paths. It's either going to set you and your family up on a pathway that is a force for good, or it's not.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to the Disruption Blueprint podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.rfgadvisory.com or schedule a call on our advisor resources page. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Information here may be provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither our guest nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of our guest. They do not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, its employees, or its clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by RFG Advisory or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives of Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place. RFG Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of RFG by the Commission, nor does it indicate that RFG or any associated investment advisory representative has attained a particular level of skill or ability.